Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. Today, we are talking about the many faces of marketing. So stick around and let's get into it. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the slightly unhinged marketing podcast for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, also known as the Pixel Wizard, and my goal is to tackle the tough stuff that goes in behind the scenes in marketing and offer actionable tips, creative insights, and a little bit of humor to spark some creativity. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. Today, we are talking about the many faces of marketing, the different roles and the different skills needed to have a successful marketing team. So today, I wanted to start off a little bit different with a story. So I want to introduce you to ABC Homes. They are a mid-sized builder with a growing market presence, but they're struggling to keep up with demand. They're growing like crazy and they're just struggling a little bit to keep up with demand. They have Jess, who is their marketing manager, who has been tasked with pretty much everything: designing brochures, running Google ads, posting on social media, managing the website, writing blog posts, and even taking photos at construction sites. So Jess is basically very overworked. She's doing the very best she can, but she is overwhelmed. So the leadership starts noticing a few things. She starts missing deadlines. There's poor engagement on social media. People aren't getting answered back very quickly on chat. The ads are weirdly not doing well, and they're getting a lot of junk leads. So they used to get a lot of really great leads for their communities, and now it seems like all the leads that they're getting are for rental homes in areas that they don't build in. And then Jess is just feeling really burned out and demotivated. She's just struggling to keep up with everything, and she's getting a lot of pressure from her upper leadership. So, leadership, they start questioning Jess. They're unaware of the unrealistic expectations that have been placed on her. And they're like, hey, what's going on? Why are things not going as well as we'd like? So, basically, what this story indicates is that Jess needs help. Jess is overwhelmed. And this problem stems from a lot of different things, but it's something that I've seen a lot in a bunch of different businesses where the business grows, but the marketing team doesn't. And or the goals of the company grow and the marketing team is not able to keep up with the demand that's put on them. And I believe that this starts right from the very beginning, and it starts in our job postings for marketing team. Now, if you go on LinkedIn like I do, I see a ton of different job postings for various roles in marketing. And what I see most often are these job listings where they're asking for a graphic designer, someone who knows about SEO. They can do ad campaign management. Maybe they're a good photographer because we're going to need social media content. I need you to be able to update the website. And it's this huge long list of a ton of different skills that are required. Plus, you want 5 years experience and it needs to be full time in person. So there's a lot of expectations put into these job postings, and it's been a unique problem. I haven't seen this. It's not in all industries, it's not in all job descriptions, but marketing specifically has this problem. So a lot of the reasons why that can happen are really understandable, though. All businesses have budget constraints. We don't want to be hiring a bunch of different people that only do one tiny little thing. And also just a general lack of understanding of the complexities that go into some of these roles. Someone who has a very analytical mind that's going to be great at running ads maybe is not the perfect graphic designer, or maybe they're not really great at social media, but they are good at writing copy. So sometimes there can be overlap of jobs, but I think there's a general lack of understanding of kind of what goes into these different roles and what types of people will be successful there. So I want to shed a little bit of light on that today and just chat through it by first of all breaking down the essential roles for a marketing team. Now, again, this does not necessarily all have to be separate people. However, they are separate skills. So let's start from the beginning. Your graphic designer. These are your visual storytellers. They're creating brand assets, absolutely essential for any design or any marketing team. You need to look pretty. So that's what your graphic designers are going to do. The SEO specialist is next. So this is really like a detective. They're engaged and they're ensuring that your content is discoverable. So even if you have the most amazing copywriter, if it's not discoverable by your search engines, it's not going to help you that much. So your SEO specialist is super important, and they hold a very unique skill of being very good at that detective work. They're very analytical and they're really detail oriented. Now, next, you're going to see your social media managers. So, of course, these people are going to be great at creating content for online. They're going to be great at engaging with your audience. They're going to understand your customer base really well. And they may also have some graphic design skills, right? Because you're going to need some to create posts and things like that. So, this is generally a very creative, very excited person about the brand. This is like your biggest advocate for your brand. They are building excitement online through social media. Next, we have our content creators and our copywriters. So basically, our wordsmiths. You have to have these at least on a part time basis because you are going to need content, right? You're going to need website content, you're going to need blogs, you're going to need written content. And having a good copywriter is so important to making sure that not only the visuals of your brand match up with your customer and create that emotional connection, that also the words that accompany it do that as well. So, occasionally, you'll find, social media managers or graphic designers that are also good at writing. So it can be a multifaceted role. However, it's something that is a unique skill that you should always ask about. And then you're going to have your ad managers. Now, sometimes a lot of people they group SEO specialists and pay-per-click ad managers into one. It's a lot of the same skills. So a lot of times that would be one specialist, but it doesn't always have to be. Could be separate people, but they really need to understand your ad platforms. They really need to understand how to optimize campaigns. They need to understand how those all of the platforms and strategies work so that they can actually evaluate and make adjustments as needed. So, super important role and a very analytical role. And then as your team gets bigger, you're going to need a project manager, someone to keep everybody on track, someone to make sure all of your efforts are cohesive and that you can properly report on all of your efforts as well. Finally, you're also going to need a website maintenance person or a developer. Not every business needs a full developer on staff, but it is good to have somebody that has some digital online experience to help with your website management. Depending on what platform you're using, some are easier than others, but whoever is managing your marketing should have your website in mind, and it shouldn't be given, oh, the graphic designer will do it or oh, the marketing coordinator will do that. It does require some insight and some training to do that. Just keep that in mind when you're hiring. And then, of course, your team is always going to have your senior leadership, your CMO, someone like that's really strategizing and future planning for your company. So, those are all a bunch of different roles, and it's very rare to find the unicorn that is all of those things. So we really want to, or I really want to emphasize that these are distinct skills and is something that we need to prioritize different things and really find all of our superheroes. Like we want to have a team of superheroes. We're not going to say that every single person is going to be good at all these things. Find what they specialize in and use that and promote those skills for them. So, what happens if we don't do this? Now, there are definitely real consequences to not doing this, as we saw with Jess burnout, poor results, just a general lack of innovation. Nobody's like really innovative when they are super stressed out and overwhelmed. So, you're going to have a decrease in productivity and effectiveness of your marketing team if your marketing team is stretched too thin. And then it just really all ties back to the importance of recognizing and valuing the specific skill sets that come with these different roles. So we really have to start when we're hiring, put all of our things that we want in there. But when we're actually interviewing, ask people, what is it that you're the best at? What's your strongest skill set? What are the things that you enjoy? I found a lot of people talking with a lot of marketing managers, marketing directors, graphic designers, things like that. They feel like they have to say that they can do all of these things, right? And they can do it. But if they're not really good at it, it's going to be a time suck for them. And I've heard a lot of times, especially with more creative people, when you start asking them to manage SEO, it's like their eyes glaze over. They're just like, "Oh, yeah, I can," but it's soul sucking. So no one does their best work when they're like that. So asking, like I said, asking what is it that makes you excited about your job? What's your favorite type of task to do? What are you really good at? And hiring specialists is so much more effective than actually just hiring like the jack of all trades person that's okay at everything but not great. Now, that's not to say there's anything wrong with those people who actually are really good at a bunch of different things. Those people, like I said, are the unicorns. Definitely hire them. But don't just assume everyone is that person. The other option that you have available to you is outsourcing. A lot of our agencies and things like that, they have the benefit of being able to have a specialist in each thing. They may have a specific person or multiple people that are just specializing in one skill that they are super good at. And it's more expensive if you were to hire individual people for marketing, but working with an agency, you're able to get that without the cost of hiring in-house. So it can be a really good option for a lot of home builders, a lot of businesses in general. So they can fill those gaps. I definitely recommend if you go that route, find a partner, an agency that you really enjoy working with that fills the gaps and allows your in the house team to focus on what they're great at, their strengths, and fill in the gaps. I find that's the most effective and really works alongside of you to make all of your strategies, all of your goals are aligned, everything like that. That works a lot better than agencies that don't put as much effort into that. Now, what do you need to do though, once you get this team, especially if you've decided, okay, I really need to hire more people, right? I really need to separate out some of these roles and hire individual specialists. It can grow really quickly. You've got a lot of more people now, a lot more things working at the same time. Or if you have an agency, they're working on something, you're working in house, you got to make sure that everyone is aligned. That's so important. So, having an area where everyone can communicate is key. If that's in your email, great. We like Slack. Personally, I like Slack, but there's a ton of different apps. Just making sure that communication is flowing regularly. And if you know me at all, I'm a huge cheerleader for Asana. I love Asana for managing any kind of campaign, any kind of ongoing effort. It can just be like reminders, to-do lists, overall campaign planning. So Asana is my go-to. There's tons of other ones. Monday.com is another great one. Trello is one I've seen used a lot. Even sometimes the CRM systems have task management systems that will work. It just depends on what you're doing and what your budget is and things like that. But definitely streamlining your communication within these teams is very important. So, when you hire new people, or if you bring in an agency, the other thing that's really important to do is do that role alignment. So make sure that everyone knows what they are championing and what are their KPIs. That's another thing that I find is it's really interesting. We have a lot of KPIs for sales teams. We have a lot of KPIs for our leadership and like revenue based KPIs and things like that. But there's not as many for marketing. And so it makes it a little bit hard to celebrate the wins and to understand, oh, we've made an improvement here. Here's how this role is impactful, things like that. So we really have to advocate for ourselves and our teams and set up KPIs so that we can track our performance and as things are changing. You're Make sure if you don't have this, make sure that you talk to your leadership about this. And if you're in leadership, this is definitely something to think about, making sure that every single person on your team has a core focus, has a really clear idea of what their role and responsibilities are, and how that impacts the rest of the team, rest of the company, and your company goals. Connecting things back to the main company goals and your core values and things like that really helps align people and get everybody together and excited about the same things. And productivity usually always goes up when that happens. Now, let's get back to our story about Jess. So, ABC Builders decided that they wanted to work with an agency. The agency identified a few different gaps for them. One was graphic design. Their materials didn't really look consistent. The other ones was SEO. They weren't doing blogs because Jess was so overwhelmed. She wasn't creating blogs. We already talked about the ad management had gone down in effectiveness. So that was something that they were like, hey, we have a specialist that we can bring in to help along with that. And then photography was really bogging down Jess. She was going out to all of these different models all the time, all the different available homes and taking photos. So the photos were not as great as they'd like to see, and it was just eating up a ton of time. The experts at the agency filled those gaps. So they had a graphic designer start working on creating some more cohesive marketing materials, editing some of the templates that they had, and making sure that the brand strategy was represented through all of the marketing materials. They implemented an SEO strategist who optimized blogs and website structure and fixed some of the indexing issues so they started showing up in Google again, which was great. Also, that same SEO strategist was a digital ad management strategist as well. So they reconfigured their ad campaigns, which overall improved their ROI across the board. They fixed the junk lead issue by realigning some of their keywords, some of their goals on their ads, and ultimately started showing better click-through rates, and cost per clicks went down, which was awesome. And then they helped the builder find a photographer in their area that could work part-time, that they had a ticketing system where they would go out regularly and do the photos that were professional quality, and it just took that off the plate of the team. So immediately we start seeing some improvements, and we see improvements over time. So SEO, anything with your ads, it's going to take a little bit of time to make the changes that you make for them to actually start impacting the company and start see that performance rise. So over the next 6 months, they were tracking all of these things, and overall they showed a 30% reduction in the costs and a 40% increase in the amount of traffic that they were receiving to their website and calls to their sales team. So that was great. They stuck with it and they waited that 6 months to make sure that they had a properly optimized strategy to do that. The blog started performing better. They got fixed all of their issues with their SEO, and the social media that Jess was doing was so much easier because she had access to all of these really great photos that are coming in. She has professional graphic designers now. So if she needed graphic design help, she could get that. She got some templates so she could create posts faster. And she was able to do what she was really great at there. Overall, Jess felt relieved. And she's able to focus on the campaign strategy and the leadership and the areas where she really excels, which was great. Obviously, then also the team morale went up because Jess became more engaged, more excited, and overall the whole team became more productive. And eventually, leadership also took notice of this and the increase overall in the marketing effectiveness. And they gave Jess a pat on the back for advocating for herself and for that help. That I think is the hardest part of the whole story is Jess had to go out and say, "Hey, I need help with these things. This is what we're seeing, and this is how we can make a difference." And it's that type of being an advocate for yourself and for your company, your role, your department is so important. But I want to give some tips there as well because sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not the most it's this really just not the easiest thing. When Jess went and gave this presentation to her leadership team, she brought solutions, not problems. So she explained what the issue was. She explained what she was seeing and some of the struggles. But rather than leaving it there, she had this a couple different agencies picked out. She's like, "Hey, I've talked to these ones. This is the cost. Here are the benefits of each one. This is the one that I like the best." So she came with a solution. And that's usually what your upper leadership wants, right? They want you to explain the problem, bring it to them, let's chat through it, but also to have a proposed solution. And that really also Jess got the credit for that because she did all of that upfront work for her to be able to advocate. So that's a huge tip. I think I want to do a whole episode just on that in general, but that's a huge part of this, right? Like when you do decide that, hey, it's time to start growing, it's time to bring in new people, there's got to be somebody that starts that ball rolling. And in this case, it was Jess, which was awesome. So, what are the final takeaways here? The first one is marketing is not a solo act. This is a team sport. We're not always going to be good at everything. And I hope after hearing all of this, you see the differences between some of the tasks and the roles in marketing. It's not something that is always just native to every marketer, that they're all going to be great at beat analytics and great at managing ads and also great at the creatives and also great at social media. I know those are a lot of different skills that you're using there. So definitely it takes a team to make any marketing team successful. And then, of course, outsourcing, if that is an option for you, there are a lot of experts out there that can fill those gaps, save you money, and yield better results. Don't forget that as an option. I know a lot of businesses, they want to bring everything in house, which I totally understand. However, as you're growing, there are times where outsourcing is actually a smart decision. It's a better decision in some cases. You'll have to decide that for yourself, but the outsourcing is something that definitely can help in those early times, especially, and can grow with you even in some situations where you find that ad manager that's just so awesome. You don't want to let them go. So it can be a long term strategy as well. And then leaders have to recognize the value of these special skills and advocate for realistic team structures. That's like probably the biggest takeaway here is recognizing that those job descriptions that we talked about in the beginning maybe aren't always the most realistic. So, how do you think this might change how you think about your marketing team? Did it change how you think about it? Do you have any like ideas now or tasks now? I would love to hear about them. So wherever you're listening to this, head to the comments. Let's have a chat about it. And I think it's a great time to start auditing your current marketing team, identify where you might have gaps. And even if there are gaps and it's just a skills thing, getting a little bit of training can be so powerful to just get your team up to where you want to see them. So, anyways, thank you for listening today. I really enjoy making these podcasts and talking about things that I see throughout the industry. So, that's this episode. It's something that I see all the time, and I really enjoy getting to talk about it. So, I will see you in the next episode. Come back. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe so you get an alert when I post again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.